Yeah, g'day, it's Jason Archer here from AbacusBio, and I'm in my office in Dunedin, but I'm with Max Tweedie from B+LNZ Genetics up in the Hawke's Bay. How you doing, Max?
Yeah, good, Jason. How's things?
Yep, sun shining up there. Spring booming, is it?
Already. Hawke's Bay is nice and early, coming in hot.
Good. Hey, we just wanted to cover off a few things today around the beef progeny test program, the B+LNZ New Zealand Genetics program. And so, what do you reckon? What's the key message coming out of that program so far, Max?
I guess the a key one for me, and I think for farmers, is that EBVs work. And when we looked at the size EBVs and matched them up to the performance of their calves, we found that they matched up pretty well, and as a result, there's an opportunity to make more money. So when we matched out the percentage of progeny performance to size EBV, 73% across all the 18 old traits we looked at converted to progeny performance. So that was pretty convincing. And if you look at that, look at the example that for growth, it's a real easy one, is that for every kilo in sire EBV, we expect half of the benefit of the size EBV to be passed on. So we would expect in an ideal situation that for every kilo in sire EBV, 500 grams would be passed on in actual calf weight. And when we look at that across the growth traits, we got 0.49 or 490 grams for the half a kilo we expected in 200-day weight. We got 410 grams for the 500 grams we hoped for in 400-day weight. And then at 18 months and 600-day weight, we got 450 grams. So pretty bloody spot on, and where EBVs converted into more progeny performance. And then if you looked at that in terms of weight, there's heaps of extra kilos, 19 kilos at 200-day weight, 43 extra kilos at 400, and 66 extra kilos at 600-day weight between the poorest and the best sire for those traits.
Yeah, and these cattle that you're talking about, Max, are they pampered, or how are they fed?
Well, certainly one of the farmers is high input photobeat winter Italian and annual pastures through the spring and irrigated in the summer. But then we've got farms like that. We've got farms that's the complete opposite, where the cattle are run extensively, high stocking rate, hill country, steep hill country. And that's a beauty of using these bulls across 5 stations, 5 breeds, 2,200 cows, from topography that ranges from Gisborne to the Heckaville in South Island. So cool way to test the bulls. All
commercial systems though, eh?
Completely commercial, yeah.
Even the high input system is a system that's making money for the commercial farm.
Pretty profitable, that outfit. So
yeah.
I know, and I guess that would be the only message though, wouldn't it? I mean, there's obviously a heap we've learned with the carcass and the eating quality stuff, Jason.
Yeah, for sure. So eating quality has been a real interesting one in this project, and actually all the farms have been on a bit of a learning curve. When we first started killing the cattle, the results were okay, but as we've gone on through the season and killed the cohort 1 cattle, results on a lot of the farms have just got better and better. In fact, most of the farms, other than the one farm that started off exceptionally good, and had nowhere to go really in terms of getting better. But some of the key messages that's been coming through is cattle will grade well when they're heavier, so larger carcasses. They've got to have enough fat on them, so the cattle must need to be finished. We can't be killing cattle that are under fat, too lean, and we'll get better results if we actually kill them to a finish rather than just throw them out the door when the grass goes. And the other thing that's influencing our grading really is marbling. So having good marbling genetics and then getting the expression of that genetics through again a combination of good nutrition and taking it to a heavy enough carcass weight to let that be expressed. So we're probably talking between in the order of 300 to 320 type kilo carcass average, and we're starting to get some good expression of those marbling genetics in those cattle as well. So,
well, I guess that depends on the type of animal you've got as well. You were talking about relative to maturity and different frame sizes. Some cattle are likely to marble earlier at lower carcass weights.
Sure, though really I think for the sort of cattle we're looking at, which are typical New Zealand, well, the spectrum of New Zealand cattle and some international cattle as well, it does still hold true. The heavier the better, and getting them to that 300 kilo carcass weight certainly has had a big impact on our grading results through Silver Fern Farms BPQ system. There are other things about grading, so sorting out pH issues, and that's a short-term management thing. And we've found that there's not really a genetic influence on that at all. That's all about feeding in the 4 weeks prior to slaughter. It's about having quiet cattle. It's about handling them well, minimising stress, minimising all those little stresses that add up to pH issues. So there's a clear management thing we can do there, and the farms have done that very well. And then there's a system type thing, which is the feeding and getting the carcass weights on them, and then there's the genetics, which is having the potential in there to marble, having enough fat to get them to finish, and still having that growth potential so that we can get some decent sized carcasses at a young age.
Yeah, I thought the really interesting thing was that if you looked at the difference between the size for percentage of their calves that achieved the BFEQ, Silver Fern Farms BFEQ master grade, as much as a 35% difference between size.
Yeah, and that really surprised me actually as to how much that was. But it does show that genetics makes a difference, and yet we need to put the short-term genetic potential in and the size of these calves, but also we need to keep the cow herd going in the direction that's going to set us up for further improvement. So, some of the people who have got the best results from BPQ grading so far are people that have actually been chasing meat quality genetics, and they're not sacrificing maternal performance to do it, but they've been getting meat quality genetics in their herd for probably 10 years. They've got in the cow herd, then you put the right bull across them, and they're really seeing the benefits. We're talking, one of the farms getting 95% hit rates across 2 kills both times. So only small progeny numbers at that farm, but still it's a very impressive result.
And with that farm as an example, they are also one of our best performers, just from a management level, one of our best performers in terms of heifer conception rate. But what is the relationship there, and what relationships have we seen with conception?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I hear a lot of people saying, well, yes, if we chase growth, if we chase meat quality, then actually it's going to be at the detriment of the reproductive performance of our cows. So we've had a look at this. At the moment, we've really only got a couple of cohorts of heifers in their first mating, and their conception results, and we've analysed that. We get conception date from our scans, and we've analysed that, and we've looked to see whether there's a relationship between the EBVs of the size for different traits and how their heifers are getting in calf, and how early the heifers are getting in calf. And look, so far we've found we haven't been able to find any strong relationship at all, or any relationship full stop, I would guess. So we've looked at that with intramuscular fat. A lot of people will say, but if you select intramuscular fat, you're at detriment of your reproduction. Haven't been able to see that so far. So the high intramuscular fat bulls are no worse than the low intramuscular fat bulls in terms of heifers getting in calf. Same thing with 600 day weight. The high growth animals, same hit rates on their heifers getting in calf, and the same thing with fat EBVs too, really. So it's still early days. It takes time to collect reproductive data, and we've only got heifer data at the moment, and there'll be more cohorts of heifers that will come through, and then we'll start collecting cow reproductive performance data. Yeah. So watch this space, but early days. But the message so far is saying, well, we actually can't show any antagonisms there. Yeah, so that's been really good. But there's other things out there too. And one of the one of the things that a lot of people talk about is structural soundness of these cattle as well, and that's an important feature. And so, Max, what do you reckon about the structural soundness results that are coming from this trial?
Well, I was really happy when to see that this trial, an intention of it was to look at the relationship between all these performance traits and consider what sort of cattle are being produced, are being bred from this, and are they hacking it, and what are they doing in these environments? So big range of farms, and we got in the beef class structural assessor to record all the cattle and to assess the animals for their structural soundness, and to have a look at the individual traits that might influence structural soundness of a beef animal. And
so what are the key ones that came out of that? Like, there's a bunch of traits in that assessment.
Well, there's a heap of traits, so when we looked at the key things, so how much range is there in a trait, so how problematic is it? So for some traits we see more variation or more range where maybe they're more of an issue, and then the other one was how much of it is about the sire, how much of it is actually comes down to variational differences between sires. But the traits that are the most important seem to be rear leg angle. So and we found that the cattle are often tending cow hot, they're sixes, so they're more angled back, front foot angle, so how close that true claw is to the ground. And we're finding that those cattle tend to be often low angle, so sixes again, and then our front feet claw set, so that that shape, and they were tending to be scissored. So those three key traits, more about the sire and tend to be more problematic, and that means we've got something to work with. If there is no variation between the sires and there's no variation in the trait, then we haven't got something to select from, and it's a variation we work on in breeding. So really, I think the next step for us is that, okay, we've got an idea of how individuals go, but could we develop these into EBV so that would take into account performance of progeny, of siblings, of other information, and correlations between traits, and then ultimately being able to select for it. But until we look at how it has flow-on effects, and it affects maternal performance of cows as they go into the herd and as they leave the herd across the different sites, and we really get an idea of the economics and actually what it does cost to see animals at the far end of what we consider problematic. So until then we put some economics around it, we can guarantee we're selecting things for the right reasons and going the right way.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting. But from a commercial point of view, selecting bulls to do the job, are any of those traits any more important than any others?
Well, I don't. I mean, obviously there's these things like the reproductive traits, with testicles and sheath and that sort of thing. But the ones we're seeing the most variation in, and the ones they should really consider, is rear leg angle, front foot angle, and front foot claw set.
Sure. Yep. I know that's great. So there's some key messages coming out, and plenty of legs to go in this trial yet.
Pretty exciting. We're coming through, so we've just finishing our first cohort, and that's been really exciting. And we've got a fair bit of the measurement collected on the second cohort, with the report to come out in the spring, with our final kill coming through into the autumn next year, and that's when we'll be setting out the second cohort. But sire nominations close towards the end of August, and we'll hope to get another awesome new crop of cattle in again.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks very much for that, Max, and look forward to seeing what comes out of the rest of the project.
Thanks, Jason.